So then we have to think, how are we putting type 1 and type 2 motions together? Are we just going to assess pure plane and see whether they use the type 1 or type 2? Or are we going to assess type 1 and type 2 as individual motions? So we'll try and cover both. So let's say we want to look at type 2. Now our option is we could move both at the same time. So if I use the hand driver, I could go left rotation and left side bend or left flexion at the same time. That would give me type 2. But sometimes there's too much motion happening at once to really discern what's happening where and how that relates to the symptoms. So what we can do is position one and then drive motion in the other. So I can go with my right arm, I can rotate round to my left to where things start to tighten up. Then I can use my left hand to reach down and drive that type 2 motion. Where is that motion occurring? Again, it's going to depend on the individual. So that would be one way of assessing, or I can pre-position in the frontal plane and then drive the transverse plane. Does that change the motion? Does that change the symptoms? We can do the same thing for type 1. So if we stick with left rotation, I can go right arm, rotate round to the left, and then I can use my left arm to reach up and drive the side bend in the opposite direction. So again, that would be type 1. Or a pre-position with this left hand up, so I've got my right flexion or right side bend, then my right arm drives left rotation into the spine. Does that change the motion? Does that change the symptoms? They're the obvious ways to do those motions, but we can use the hands in different directions to create a different reaction, again, depending on the person we're seeing and how their symptoms dictate our assessment. So again, if I wanted to go type 2, I could do that in a different way in terms of, right, I'm going to fix the side bend left, but I'm going to do it with my right arm overhead and then use my left arm as the rotation driver. And again, this creates type 2 motion, but it's very different to the previous way we created it. Again, we can go with type 1. I could use my right hand to put in the right flexion into the spine or right side bend. Then I can use my left arm to drive left rotation. So that would be type 1, but it causes a very different reaction from the previous way of creating type 1 motion in the spine. So which is the right way? I don't know. There are lots of different ways. So it's what is the best way for the client? What's the best way for you to visualize and understand the motion that's happening and then be able to create a change in your patients?